Hi everybody. We were asked to give reactions or videotape our reactions to the verdict that came out for Amy and Nick and Roy. As we know, so Roy totally acquitted, and then Amy and Nick, the jury found them guilty for the offenses, the remaining counts of mischief and break and enter in relation to the day of Meet the Victims, April 28th, 2019. I don't know, a loss for words was for the past couple of days as to, but again, not surprised, disappointed, but not surprised. Hi everybody. And it kind of gutted, because we have hope that perhaps for once people will just be totally honest and open and understand what this is all about. It's about these guys, right? And what we do to them, and that on a basis of law and facts and evidence and elements of an offense, for charges to go forward, of course, we know all elements of an offense have to be met. And as a 33-year veteran police officer, when I started seeing and getting more information about how the investigation was conducted, which in itself is going to take a long time to unpack, I'm shocked that it even went to trial the way it did. Sometimes in police lingo, to me, this was one of those investigations where they just piled everything into a bowl and then you throw it up against a wall and you see what sticks. But apparently that, and we know this, okay, Abbotsford Police Department has a private foundation, a charity foundation, and I can guarantee you funding from that foundation would have gone to funding this investigation. And probably in all likelihood, where does some of that money come from? It doesn't have to be disclosed, but you can be guaranteed with a community like Abbotsford, and we know on the Police Foundation board, there are farmers and there are animal agricultural people. So you would think that with such a high priority case where all eyes of the industry is on the Abbotsford Police Department to do a stellar investigation. And I think this reflects poorly on all levels of the police department, from the most junior guy or a member who was assigned to maybe the exhibits at one point, to the file coordinator, because this was an investigation that was led by the serious crime unit. So serious crime files are set up on a tips system, and they refer, but tips, that's not information coming in, but tips are a file created for a certain task. And then you have a file coordinator that every day or every other day, that file coordinator reviews all the tasks and tips that were assigned to other investigators, and just to make sure the checks and balances, and they have morning tasking, morning briefing meetings. They go through what was been done, how it's been documented on the file, has it created more work, is everything covered, are all the I's dotted and the T's crossed. So then from the investigators that were involved, that would have been tasked with stuff, from loss of evidence, mishandling of evidence, mishandling of documentation of handling of evidence, where evidence log sheets were not completed. They were at one point unaware that they even had missing evidence. So that's one point. And then the file coordinator then responds to the the middle management or either the second in charge of the serious crime unit or the person in charge of the serious crime unit, who then reviews all the work that's been done and should catch things and should correct people and set people on the proper course of action to make sure that they're conducting themselves and the investigation to the utmost degree of excellence and thoroughness, and just proper police work. It's our understanding too that with respect to Amy Serrano's phones being seized, there was coercion, and this kind of brings in the court system. So coercion means that they can't make promises or threats to you when you're in custody about anything. to either obtain a statement or so on and so forth, or promise you anything. The coercion and promise made to Amy about getting the password for her phone was as such. If you give us your password, you're gonna get your phone sooner. So it's probably better that you give us your password. You don't have to give us your password, but you know what? If you give it to us right now, it's going to be a lot easier, and you'll get your phone sooner. So that is coercion in the sense that they made promises to her that she's going to get her phone back. So that in itself, when that gets documented on a file and then on a Crown report, where's Crown's eyes on this, and where's actually again the management of the Abbotsford PD? And then. So they seize the phone, keep it, she gives them the password, they get access to it. Either they started looking into the phone prior to having a search warrant, or they waited to get their search warrant, and then they went outside the perimeters of the search warrant itself. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe they even did search without the search warrant. And then once they did get the search warrant gives you a specific amount of time from date A to date B to do what you got to do. And normally when you submit your search warrant, you make sure you got plenty of time to do the work you've got to do. In this case, what they did was they went outside. So they kept on searching and working on it past the dates of the search warrant. So you would think anything that was obtained during the search warrant would not be admissible in court. They used that period of time as well too, or that search warrant, to go on further hunting expeditions, even though it was past the lawfulness of the search warrant and being able to search, to look at further evidence that initially was attached to all those other charges, the 17 or 16 or whatever charges that related to the other dates in question. I believe that were involving the placement of the cameras and so on and so forth, other than April 28th. So we know that eventually all those charges got dropped. And I'm sure the lack of adherence to the search warrant and all that shittery and fuckery has a lot to do with those charges getting dropped. So again, that in itself, when a judge starts looking at stuff and saying, well, no, you guys, this is a serious breach of a person's rights, a coercion where you're making promises to an individual about the phone. It's just mind-boggling. And what else was there? Well, Jeff Rieger himself, his dropping of his charges was as a result of the BCSPCA handing over a confidential source without being required to by law. Normally, and many decades ago, perhaps law enforcement agencies and other agencies, be it other government agencies or private or what have you, all would be is, hey, phone them up and say, hey, I need this and that document from you, or apparently you guys got some information about this. We need that stuff from you. Oh, okay, we'll send it right over. Not anymore. And police forces know that puts that evidence into jeopardy these days. Everything goes by search warrant. So for them, and the SPCA says, oh no, we've got this agreement, with the Abbotsford Police that we just give them stuff. Well, it's poorly thought out by the BCSPCA, but they're a freaking charity organization, so they really don't have any skin in the game. But for a police force to accept evidence, important evidence, that's going to be utilized, apparently this big high priority file, without obtaining a search warrant is ridiculous. But were they that cocky that they knew that because it's the Abbotsford court system, or possibly who the judges would have been? I know this is a far stretch, but to take that risk on such a high priority file and not go by way of search warrant, if that's how they conduct themselves with other serious files such as murders and gang related stuff, they're crazy, because they're at jeopardy of losing important evidence. But in this case, because it was about animal rights activists and the animal agricultural system, it's like anything goes. So all in all, then Jeff Rieger, he gets his charges dismissed and dropped, and people start putting to task the BCS-BCA. Oh, no, we don't know why those charges were dropped. We stick to our protocols, and it had nothing to do with us turning over an informant and a confidential source, and because we do that. No, you don't. Any enforcement agency knows that unless you're ordered to by the courts, which is very, very rare occurrences, confidential sources are protected. They're protected by the agencies that have them, and they're also protected by the courts quite diligently. And in most cases, not paid informants, I should say, just informants or confidential sources do not get exposed in court. Very rarely. So then we saw that Crown Counsel, they put out their typical statement is that this is no longer in the public interest and there's not a likelihood of conviction. Therefore, Jeff Rieger's charges are dropped. Yeah, you're freaking right. There isn't a likelihood of conviction because you obtain the information what wouldn't be valid in court. And rather than you bring the justice system into disrepute, the Crown Counsel figured, no, we can't do this. We can't go ahead on this guy. This is going to be a shitstorm for us. And it will look poorly on the courts, and it will look poorly on the Abbotsford PD and the BCS-BCA. So let's hush. Let's just drop everything against Jeff. So there you go. Then you end up with 3 accused and with less charges, and the trial begins. How relevancy of animal cruelty was ruled out by that judge because he had a desire, obviously, to keep very tight control of this trial and not permit things to diverge in the sense that still relevant, but certainly that he didn't want the jury to start going off on different tracks of thought. So they excluded anything that had to do with animal cruelty, which is all of this. This was a case of defensive necessity. They went to they found the evidence. They went to the agencies. They tried to report it. Still, nobody takes action. And then, so what do? Well, we're taking action in the sense that we want to further expose this. We want attention from the media. On April 28th, we are going in there and we are going to expose this firsthand. And then possibly, maybe then we'll get some action. But we know that then what happens is people get arrested, people get charged. So there was a necessity for the Meet the Victims Canada to take place. And there was a necessity for those 60 some odd brave individuals, including the Excelsior 4, that knew what the consequences of their actions were, and that was possibly facing charges, and they did face those charges. So like Roy said it best, I think just yesterday in a post, that we have to look at this, that this is a 17 count win to a 4 count loss. So 17-1. They dropped 17 counts against them and only 4 charges, and were convicted on 4 separate counts, that only Amy and Nick, which, let's back up a little bit. So then you got Roy, the day of Meet the Victims, he as a result of his participation, and it's my understanding that Roy was in part of the inside team that never made it inside. His team got held out. That one point in time, we saw the videos where actually it's Roy's doing who calmed the situation down, where Mr. Benendijk Sr. was yanking female activists by the hair out of a doorway, and that one point in time got so violent that he picked up a frickin' concrete brick and was threatening people with a brick. Roy came up to him, and everybody reminded him that we're peaceful. Roy diffused that situation. The guy kind of looked foolish, and his son came up to him, and all of a sudden you see there's a conversation, and he drops the brick. So, and then as it was disclosed in court, Roy, who's charged with break and enter and mischief for April 28th, all of a sudden there's footage showing that Roy is requested by the Abbotsford police to come and be escorted into the barns to assist them with the dispersal and the conclusion of the matter. And then they turn around and they charge him. So they're the ones who invited Roy in. And apparently in court, when this was all disclosed, they looked dumbfounded. So again, how is it that a court The investigator, the file coordinator, the section head, the sub managers, and then Crown Counsel too. When they submit to report to Crown Counsel, the RTCC, why wasn't that caught? This whole episode and this exercise, they were so hell bent on just getting these activists to court to put their heads on a stake and make examples of them that they seem to have blinders on or didn't pay proper attention. They were so freaking excited. It seemed that they were going to be all the big Abbotsford police force is going to put animal rights on trial. Poorly done, poorly executed. And I guess it was beneficial to the Excelsior 4 and Meet the Victims Canada that it turned out that the police of jurisdiction was a municipal police force, a small municipal police force, because I can guarantee you, had it been in the jurisdiction of the RCMP, oh my God, there would have been a lot of resources and there would have been a lot of expertise thrown at this thing. And I would esteem that, I would think that it wouldn't have gone as well as it did. And the risks and the like I said, the mistakes and the poor investigational techniques that the Abbotsford Sears Crime Unit exhibited in this it wouldn't have taken place. Anyways, so hello, what do you think of all this? What's your reaction to the verdict? Because this is all about you guys. I know. And I think he feels that I'm agitated and he's come to calm me down. It broke my heart to see the verdict rendered. Initial defeat, feeling of defeat. But then again, as we see through this, is that without this happening and without the actions taken and without the determination and commitment by the Excelsior 4, Amy Serrano, Nick Schaefer, Roy Sassano, and Jeff Rieger, and all the behind-the-scenes people, that so much has been uncovered. So much is going to be material to advance the requests, not the requests, the demands that we see changes in this industry of CCTV cameras, of the mandate of investigating animal cruelty on farms in British Columbia and possibly across Canada in BC change, that we yank that mandate away from the BC SPCA, who they themselves say that they're not have the manpower, nor I don't think the desire to, because they know it's a conflict of interest. When an agency, such as them, are taking charity money from Ribfest, yet they're the ones that are investigating pig farms. Do you think there's a bit of a conflict of interest? Tja. So it's just like, man. So getting back to, okay, I'm going to stop ranting. He's like, Dan, calm down. There's a lot of material that we didn't have prior to this, and it's concrete material. There's evidence that was entered in court, statements that were entered in court, that the BCSPCA can no longer deny, that Lana Poppin, the Ministry of Agriculture, can no longer deny, nor can the Abbotsford Police deny, and nor can the BC pork producers deny. BCSPCA, we learned through the one of the detectives at Abbotsford Police who was on the stand that she had a conversation with Sean Eccles, the main investigator of the BCSPCA. When they had a conversation in August that year, that he did not even view the footage that the confidential source, now known as Jeff Rieger, had turned over to them of blatant animal cruelty. They didn't even review it. They wouldn't answer that question when Jeff asked them months and months, at that time. Have you even reviewed the footage? They wouldn't answer that question. Well, it was answered in court. So now we're seeing that people are emailing them and dropping their support for the BCSPCA. And they're sending out their lawyer's statement email saying that, oh no, we withstood, we upheld our protocols and policies, followed everything, and that what other people are saying about us is misinformation. Screw you. Stop lying. And face the facts that you guys got caught at doing something that you shouldn't have been doing, and face the music. And if Sean Eccles, you might want to think of considering retiring or resigning from your position. And the BCSPCA itself, which stands for the British Columbia Society for the Prevention of Cruelty Against Animals, add another frickin' C to your acronym. The BC Society for the Prevention Against Companion Animals, cruelty against companion animals, because that's all you seem to want to protect, companion animals. You have no desire and no gumption, and you are within a moral dilemma of trying to look at and investigating animal cruelty investigations that happen in farms, especially commercial agricultural farms. Oh yeah, you'll go after the hobby farmist or the hoarders or that type of people that aren't in the industry, but you don't go over industry people, that's for sure. It's just insane. And certainly what this has done too, so there's lots of material, and we've seen what Ban BC Fur Farms has done this year, how effective it's been. We've seen so far the Excelsior 4, that the awareness around the world of what activists in Canada are trying to do, which resulted again in a second Meet the Victims Canada event that happened last year in Kitchener, in 2020 in Kitchener, or last year. So I'm confident that this episode and how it's ended, and the fire that it's lit in us and ignited in more vegans and even non-vegans that may not have been aware of the situation. There's a lot of people that are going to take notice have taken notice of this, and maybe might be inquiring a little bit more where their food comes from and what's on the end of their fork. So kudos to, the Excelsior 4, Amy, Nick, Roy, and Jeff. Kudos to and thank you so much to everybody who participated in the Meet the Victims on April 28th, 2019 on the inside and outside. And all those who've supported it, and everybody showing our support to the Excelsior 4 throughout this trial. And the support doesn't stop. It only continues. It shifts gear. And there's other things coming up that have to be examined and looked at, and what we'll be doing with all that. So there's a lot of work ahead of everybody, and we can't spend too much time feeling defeated. Of course, we'd want things to go our way for the animals. And we can never forget, again, too, is that while all this is going on, I can't remember what the number was of the, there's millions of animals that are farmed in the Fraser Valley. When you drive through the Fraser Valley, how many animals do you ever see? You don't see any of them. And that's the way they want to keep it. They want to keep them hidden. They want to keep what goes on hidden. The Binnendykes from Excelsior Hog Farm, shame on you, you disgusting individuals, for purporting yourself as to being a top-rated pig farm in British Columbia and sitting on the board of directors of the BC pig pork producers. Vile. Biosecurity risks, urinating in your barn, saying that on the stand. And I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more that you were afraid of people would have seen had that evidence been introduced. And perhaps the mysterious lost video that went missing between you handing it over to the police. What was on that? What do you do in your barn? Just like you have your sign that says what happens in the barn stays in the barn. Karma. And you guys are Christians? We'll see. So we're going to move forward. Today, I thought, because after Meet the Victims, we all went down to Little Oink Bank Pig Sanctuary to regroup. And like I said, it's taken me a while to kind of put my thoughts together for my reactions to the verdict. Again, in short, sadly disappointed and always eternally optimistic, but not surprised. And I feel so badly for my friends and co-activists, but again, am in total awe and admiration for the dedication they've shown, the stoicness they've shown, and the basic message that this isn't about us, it's about animals, and that we're going to move forward. And we'll do outreach, we'll do the documentaries, we'll do the food posts. When we're going to put this out in your face, we will be lobbying our governments. We will be looking at plant-based food systems for our community, and why, mainly because of that guy in the background. It's all going to happen, and we're going to keep at it. We're going to keep at it more. There's more people joining our ranks. And across Canada, we know that every single police force now knows over the past few years, just about because of the dedication of X number of activists in Canada, which they really don't have much of an idea of a count, because I've been asked by some police officers, well, how many activists are there in Canada? Wouldn't you like to know? We're an army, and we're a growing army, and we will be out there for the animals. And we will only show truth. We only speak the truth. I'm a retired police officer. It's ingrained into me. All I concern myself with is facts, evidence, and real truth. So try and keep fooling the public, but we will work our hardest to change this. And again, our hearts go out to Amy, Nick, Roy, and Jeff, and we're there for you for the remainder of this, wherever this takes you, and we're going to work at this. Dan Moskaluk, Indian Rock Vegan, signing out, and one of these for several people, and you know who you are.